DayZ's popularity continues to soar, but with ARMA Reforger getting some serious recognition, it has a few players asking if DayZ should be moved fully to the Infusion engine. And here I'll tell you what the devs have said, as well as whether it's unnecessary or more than necessary. If you liked the video, please leave a like or a subscribe, it genuinely does help me out. But without further ado, let's get into the video. 1, 2. Wow, powerful gun. So this week I learned two pretty big things. First of all, my sister is pregnant, it's not mine, and Bohemia Interactive cleaned up in 2024. Look at those numbers, with DayZ getting more updates than ARMA Reforger. However, given how popular ARMA Reforger has become, does this mean DayZ may consider moving their game to the Infusion engine completely? So there's no denying the appeal of Infusion. ARMA Reforger is a fantastic showcase of the engine's capabilities, with buttery smooth frame rates and jaw-dropping visuals that make its environments look alive. Who wouldn't want to see Chernarus and Livonia rendered with better lighting, crisper textures, and more dynamic weather? Even long-term players who've memorized every nook and cranny of these maps might rediscover them in an entirely new light. Performance is another key factor. DayZ's hybrid engine, part real virtuality, part Infusion, is a technological marvel in ways, but it has its quirks. And even console players in particular might benefit significantly from an engine change. While DayZ runs well on current gen consoles now, an engine like Infusion could push it even closer to comparison with the PC experience. And let's not forget the modding potential. Infusion tools are built for modern standards, meaning modders could create even better, faster, and more creative content. Mods have always been a big part of DayZ, and given creators better tools, could unleash a new wave of innovation. It sounds like a no-brainer when you put it like that, right? But hold on, just because something is newer doesn't mean it's better or even necessary, and in some ways it could actually have the opposite effect and damage DayZ. So first of all, DayZ's current engine, love it or hate it, is already the best it's ever been. But what exactly does the best it's ever been mean? Is the engine actually any good? Well, let's look. It offers a fully dynamic loot economy, active NPCs, intricate and ever-changing survival mechanics, crazy dynamic events, highly expansive PvP systems and weapons and guns and tools, crafting systems and so on, and multiplayer functionality, all running seamlessly on massive maps. Oh, and across multiple platforms. But the most important thing to note here is all of this is running 24/7. This isn't a session game, the world doesn't reset when you log off, everything here is permanent for every player that is online, which is no small feat. But that also doesn't mean it couldn't be improved with a different engine. Just because something is good doesn't mean it can't get better. But would it get better? Because let's touch on something that Thalas said when he had the interview at 87. To summarize, this would be the biggest undertaking DayZ would ever do, and it would probably require almost all of Bohemia in order to successfully execute. Because moving DayZ entirely to Infusion wouldn't just be an update, it would be a complete rebuild. It could be a year or even years of development time, possibly at the expense of updates and content we're currently enjoying, especially with all the testing and quality control and everything else that comes with it. And can you imagine the amount of hate the DayZ dev team would get if they stopped producing updates for an entire year, even with a planned engine change? Just look at the last few updates. If DayZ release an update with new guns, they get told we don't want new guns, we want stability. So then they focus on stability only for people to complain that they're not adding any new content and that they're not listening to the community. Sometimes when I see things like this unfold, I feel as though they could all donate a kidney and some players would still complain that they kept one for themselves. So in this current climate of players, this update would likely devastate numbers and DayZ's reputation, which poses a lot of risk. And what exactly is the end goal? Slightly better graphics? More frame rates? Sure, that's nice, but it would come at the cost of long-term stagnation and a big hit to the player base. And if we compare it to the last time DayZ had an engine change, look at how long it took, how much we lost, and how long it's taken to get most of it back. Comparatively, everything we have back is better than it used to be. Better control, better animations, better looks, but realistically, players just don't want to wait. But just because other engines look new and shiny doesn't mean they're the right way forward. Many studios have stuck with older engines for decades and still delivered beloved games. Look at Valve with their Source engine, which has been built on since 2004 but continues to power games like CSGO. Or take Rockstar Games and their Rage engine, which has driven both GTA 5 and Red Dead Redemption 2, which were like 5 years apart. These studios demonstrate that great games come from refining what already works, not constantly chasing the latest tech for its own sake. But again, that doesn't mean everything is perfect, and it would be ridiculous and dishonest to say DayZ is absolutely flawless. There are certain issues, people do get frustrated and voice their opinions, and if the game was flawless it wouldn't need updates to balance and stabilize. But then is that not the journey of every online game? And how many of them are actually changing their engines? But it's extremely important to note a few things here. First of all, DayZ has always surprised us with things we never thought was coming. For example, Sakao. So maybe in future we could see some changes to the engine. Something else to keep in mind is, although I do personally have game development experience, I don't work for Bohemia, I've never worked for Bohemia, and I don't even really have a relationship with Bohemia, so I don't have any inside knowledge on whether or not they're updating the engine. But in my personal opinion, maybe contrary to other players in the community, I think updating the engine would be a really bad move. But if you want a much deeper dive into the state of DayZ itself, then maybe click on this video here, which explains the 13 reasons Sakao was review bombed, or click here for something else. And as always, until next time.